At what height does OSHA require fall protection? Ask 10 people on a construction site, and half of them will say 4 feet. And on a construction site, they are wrong. This one number gets mixed up constantly, and getting it wrong in your safety documents is an easy way to have control kick back. So let me give you the actual trigger heights, the standard behind each one, and why the 4-foot answer keeps coming up. Let's start with the answer that covers most work. In construction, OSHA requires fall protection at 6 feet above a lower level. The standard is 29 CFR 1926.501, paragraph B1. That 6-foot trigger covers unprotected edges, roofs, and open sides on the large majority of construction activities. So if you remember one number for a job site, it is 6 feet. But there are a handful of specific activities where the trigger is different, and those are the ones that trip people up. So let's go through them. First exception, scaffolds. On a scaffold, the fall protection trigger is 10 feet above a lower level, under 1926.451, paragraph G. That is higher than the general 6-foot construction rule, and is a common source of confusion because a worker can be at 8 feet on a scaffold and not hit the scaffold trigger, even though 6 feet is the number they have in their head from everything else. So on scaffold specifically, the number is 10. Seconde exception, style erection. Here the general trigger is 15 feet, under 1926 Subpart R. Steel erection also has specific provisions for connectors, the workers who guide and bolt the steel, who have some options within the rule because of the nature of that work. The point for you is that steel erection is its own world with its own trigger, so do not apply the 6-foot number to it without checking Subpart R. Third, and this one surprises people, holes and skylights. For a hole or a skylight a worker could fall or step through, fall protection is required at any height, under 1926.501, paragraph B4. There is no minimum drop. It does not matter if it is a 4-foot fall or a 40-foot fall. The hole has to be covered or guarded. Skylights on roofs are a classic fatality because a worker steps or leans on one assuming it will hold, and it will not. So holes get protected regardless of the distance below. So where does the 4-foot answer come from? If it is wrong on a job site, it is not made up. 4 feet is the real trigger, but it is the general industry trigger under 1910.28. General industry means places like factories and warehouses. Contractors, on the other hand, work under the 1926 construction standards, where 6 feet is the rule. Both numbers are correct, they just apply to different worlds. Mixing them up is one of the most common ways a safety plan ends up citing the wrong trigger, which is exactly why you should always state the standard, not just the number, in your documents. Here is the whole thing on one screen. General construction, edges and roofs. 6 feet, under 1926.501B1. Scaffolds, 10 feet, under 451G. Steel erection, 15 feet, under Subpart R. Holes and skylights, any height, under 501B4. And general industry, which is not you on a job site, is 4 feet under 1910.28. When you write this into a site-specific safety plan, name the standard next to the number because that is what a reviewer or an inspector checks against. The place all of this has to end up is your written documents. A site-specific safety plan should state the trigger height for the actual work you are doing and the system you will use to meet it. This is TailgateDocs. It generates a site-specific safety plan for your project, citing 1926.501 correctly rather than the wrong 4-foot general industry rule for $49. If you need the company-wide policy instead, the written safety program is $149. Getting the standard right in writing is the difference between a plan that passes and a control that gets kicked back. Link is in the first line of the description and the pinned comment. Quick recap. On a construction site, fall protection is required at 6 feet for almost everything, under 1926.501. Scaffolds are 10 feet, steel erection is 15, and holes and skylights are protected at any height. The 4-foot number that everyone repeats is the general industry rule under 1910.28, not construction. And always state the standard next to the number in your plans. If you want a site-specific plan that gets the trigger right, TailgateDocs.com/site-specific-safety-plan. See you in the next one.